A very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. This is Sven, and welcome to a new episode of Coaster Kings Radio. Today we have something very special for you guys, and for that we are joined by European Coaster King leading member, James!
Hi everyone, hope everyone's doing good.
And we also have a former European Coaster Kings member, but still pretty familiar with the podcast. Hello, Alastair.
Hello, Sven and James. Nice to be finally on the air.
The recording side, yeah, because we already know you from the music on the episode, because not only our intro, but also the music that's playing right now is by the hand of Alastair.
Yeah, it is indeed by me, a little known fact, and now everybody knows, so check out trifectal.com.
We are very grateful. Alastair, you are recording from Finland.
I am, so it's actually quite relevant to this episode.
Exactly,
as will become apparent.
Oh yes, because this episode is all about the Scandinavian parks. We're going to do a little tour of the 4 countries. Not Iceland, because there's no theme parks in Iceland, unfortunately. But we're going to do a little tour of the parks, discuss a little bit of the places where we've been, and then after we treated each country, we'll also make our top 3 of coasters, or try at least, because it might be easier for some countries compared to others. Also linked, we have on the Coaster Kings website a Scandinavian series written by James, which is definitely worth checking out, but we'll use also that order to discuss the different parks, and that way if you want to read more specific information about the park itself, you can also use the article while listening. Alright, is everybody ready?
Ready?
Yep.
Let's fly to the north, to Norway, where we start off our journey. And James, what is the park that you visited in Norway?
Tussenfried?
Oh yeah, that's right. I need to mention a disclaimer that we'll probably mispronounce a lot of names in this episode. So I'm very sorry for everyone who's native to those countries. And I hope you have a good laugh. But we'll try our best to pronounce the way we think the names are pronounced. So when did you go to Tussenfried, James?
That was... I did like a little Scandinavian trip. So Norway was the first place I stopped off in, and I went there. So that was just over 2 years ago now, so 2019. So quite recently,
okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Alastair, you also went there, right?
Yeah, I went in 2016, so I'm a bit older of an experience than James. But yeah, and just to mention on the name, Tusenfrid. Tusen is 1,000 in Norwegian, and Frid means like happiness, like joy. So it means like 1,000, 1,000 happiness. Yeah.
Sounds like a coaster name we have here in Belgium, but yeah. So you went in 2016, so a little bit older. What was the most memorable ride you did there?
Without a doubt.
What was the most memorable thing about the park for you?
Well, the most memorable thing probably is the entrance, because it's got that unique like escalator entrance where you kind of go up an escalator and then go through the Norwegian loop element of the ride, whose name I've forgotten, but somebody's going to remind me now.
Is it Speed Monster?
Yes, Speed Monster, which is, as you can probably tell, isn't the most memorable ride, but it does look good. So. But yeah, no, that's that, and the flat ride Spin Spider. Those are the 2 standout memories from that park.
Yeah, and you sent us a picture, James, of Spin Spider. So it's a giant frisbee.
Yes.
It's a giant discovery, isn't it? It's a Zamperla giant discovery, I thought. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I always use the term because I'm so used to Sledgehammer here in Belgium, which is the Huss.
Oh yeah.
Giant frisbee, like in Roller Coaster Tycoon. But actually, I've never done a Zamperla one. I'm curious to see how it's different from the Huss and Intamin ones.
I think there's only one. There's one is there one at Cedar Point or somewhere? Another giant discovery there, which the only reason I know is because when I went to the park, I went with somebody who'd also been on the other one, and they were like, they didn't even know, because when you go there, you don't exactly. Not many people are going to be that familiar with what's there. So we kind of went there, and then we're just like, Jesus, there's an absolutely massive flat ride on this hill, and it's kind of like on a hill. So you're like, even though it's it's an enormous thing anyway, but like on where it is, it kind of feels even bigger. So that probably enhances the experience, I think.
And that's in Tusenfryd, you mean?
Yeah.
That it's on a hill located? Yeah. Okay. So you rode it as well, James?
Yeah, so what I was just linking back to kind of what I would say I found most memorable about the park itself is probably the landscaping and the fact it is on the kind of hill. It's sort of in a very woodland location. And that's probably what stood out to me most, because in all honesty, none of the rides had that wow factor, aside from the two that you just mentioned. But yeah, I think the landscaping is something that really stood out to me when I went there.
Yeah, and did you also do the rapid there?
Yes, I did, and that was quite good. Because I don't like going on water rides.
It doesn't seem that wet from what I've seen.
It wasn't too bad, no. But it was good, and it's quite well themed. I don't know when it first opened, though.
It opened in the year I went, I think.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it was unthemed when I went on it. It was like just kind of a concrete channel with just some. Yeah, but no, I do really like those because that was the second. It's a Hafema Rapids, like rather than an Intamin Rapids, and they kind of have a different kind of set. Like the boat is different, or the raft is different. It's like got sort of sections that are cut out, so that therefore the water can like come up through the boat instead of just being like coming over the sides. So there's one at Tripsdrill in Germany as well, which is pretty good. I think that's the right one.
Yeah, and then of course there's River Quest in Phantasialand, which is like bonkers.
That is an Intamin though, isn't it? Is it?
No, it's
it's a Hafema. Is it? Oh, right.
Yeah, but
know.
there they went pretty wild.
Yeah, with the drop, yeah, definitely.
And I don't know if you guys ridden it, but I've heard of a dark ride in a cave also in Tusenfryd.
Yeah.
Do you know the name of it?
Thor's Hammer, possibly.
It's on my trip report thing, so I must have done it, but I've literally got absolutely no memory of what it was.
I don't know how recent it is, but yeah, there's.
Actually, no, it does.
I see there's two dark rides. There's Thor's Hammer and there's Nightmare.
I didn't do Nightmare.
Nightmare is a kind of interactive attraction.
Yes, I did that one as well, and I don't think I knew what I was like. Sometimes when you haven't, because I didn't do much research about the park, so I didn't really know what the dark rides were when I went on them. But I think both of them were probably a bit underwhelming.
No, I've just googled it, and now I do now remember it, because the entrance is quite memorable. Yeah, it just kind of goes into a cliff, like. That's the entrance, but I think basically it was just a basic, like, relatively low budget, like, dart ride inside. So it wasn't, and I don't think it really felt like when you went inside. I don't think it really felt like it was inside a cliff. It was just kind of like a building inside a cliff. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think Tusenfryd is a Parques Reunidos park, so you can't expect like major B&M coasters if they are not already there, but I think we can go immediately to the top 3 coasters, because there's not really any other parks in Norway. I mean, there might be some smaller ones, but I think Tusenfryd is the major one. Which coasters did you enjoy most, James?
I don't think I can really give a top 3, but I think Speed Monster, the Intamin, I actually really enjoyed it. It's not outstanding, but I found it really enjoyable, and I think I went on it a few times. So definitely, yeah, it was a good coaster.
Would you say it's more intense than Rita at Alton Towers?
I need to look at the actual stats. I don't feel like it was, to be honest. No, it's not. It's slower. It's actually slower.
Okay.
It must be the slowest Intamin launch coaster, because I don't think there's anyone slower than 55 miles an hour.
It's slow, but it's slow, but I quite liked it. I found it quite therapeutic in a weird way. It wasn't uncomfortable or rattly or anything like that, and that was quite nice.
It still feels quite fast as well, because the launch on the Intamin ride is like much quicker than like the Mac launch or anything like that. So even though it's not actually as fast, it still feels pretty fast. It's just ultimately it was a bit just underwhelming for. I mean, yeah, it's fine for the size of park that it is. But I thought Thunder Coaster was my favourite coaster there, actually. The Vekoma wooden coaster, because it's quite long and it was quite smooth, and it's quite unique, actually. Like I just don't think there's any real competitor to it, or that I've been on anyway, like that's similar to that ride.
Yeah, what's interesting is there were three Vekoma wooden roller coasters built, one of which is thus Thunder Coaster. The other two are Loup Garou, Werewolf at Walibi Belgium, and then they still have the original trains and the original layout. And then there was Robin Hood at Walibi Holland, but that one got turned into Untamed. Here, Thunder Coaster, I also see they have the Gravity Group trains. Was that already the case when you guys were there?
I think they were, yeah, because it's I'm pretty sure they were. In fact, I've just googled it, and they definitely were. They replaced them in 2015. So, that's probably why that it was as good as it was, because obviously they'd improved the trains literally the previous year. So probably the best it's ever run.
So 1 vote for Speed Monster and 1 vote for Thunder Coaster. Not sure if there's any other coaster worth mentioning here. I see
they had an
old Vekoma Tornado.
Yeah. That's not worth mentioning though.
Maybe for Sean and Alex though, they would love it.
Just because
they like their classic Vekomas. Yeah.
It's not good to look at either. I'm not gonna lie. It's just like on a concrete pit. It's like
Okay. Well, that's it for Norway, I think. Let's go to where you are, Alastair, to Finland. What's your favorite of the three? Let's start with that one.
I think my favorite is Power Park, just because it's got the most. It's just got the most good rides, like that you would visit a park for. Whereas, although everybody who goes to Finland basically goes to Linnanmäki, because it's in Helsinki, it's easy to get to. It's kind of the classic city park, but it's only really got Tiger that's worth going for. Like, there's a couple of other good, decent rides on it there, but other than that, whereas you go to Power Park, even though it literally takes ages to get there, it has Thunderbird, which is like a really good GCI. It has Junker, which is a really good Gerstlauer launch coaster. And then it has that other weird Gerstlauer that they've built next to it, which I've not done.
It's special. I remember it being like, is this an extension for Junker, or is it a different ride? And it turned out to be a different ride.
Yeah, but it's literally the same colour and the same manufacturer, and it's just right next to it. I don't know what they were doing.
2 Infinity coasters. Yeah. And is it Power Park, Power Land, or Power?
I don't know. I've called it Power Park. So I'm just going to call it Power Park. I think that's what their website's called. Yeah.
Why did you skip it, James?
Because it was a bit off the beaten track. I think because I was all going on public transport, and I think I had a look at the parks because I had this little brochure actually of different parks around Europe, and it was in there, but it was kind of like, I think it was just a bit out of the way. But kind of the other park you didn't mention, Sarkaniemi. Yeah, that's actually was my favourite of the two that I went to.
Unsurprising.
And not necessarily because of the rides, just because of the location of it itself.
Next to the lake. Yeah.
And how you have the observation tower and all the kind of other stuff going on. The farm, everything like that, for me was what made it. So yeah, and that was a bit more easily accessible on the train. I think it was direct from Helsinki there.
To be fair, you could actually theoretically go. You could start from Helsinki. You have to do it in the 3 months of the summer, because it's pretty much the only time that this train runs. But you can start in Helsinki, go to Linnanmäki, or do it the other way around. You can get the train from Helsinki straight in it. There's a train that goes to Harma, which is where Power Park is. It's literally like a mile from the park, and they have like a bus which goes from the train station straight to the park, and then and it goes through Tampere, which is where Sarkaniemi is. So you can then come back, go there, and then go back to Helsinki. Okay. So it's all on the same train line. It's just it's not the most year-round route to be able to do. And
is it expensive?
Depends when you book it, because basically the Finnish train systems work on like an early access. Like the earlier you book it, the cheaper it is. So like when you go past the threshold of like when they're like 75% booked, the price will double, and then when it's past like 90% booked, it like doubles again. So if you book it early, then it can be quite cheap. So yeah.
Okay, good to know. But so Sarkaniemi.
Sarkaniemi.
Yeah, that one. How do you feel about it, Alastair?
Yeah, I mean, it's. I know what James means. It's really it's a nice location, but most places in Finland kind of look like that, so it doesn't stand out massively. It only really has. It has the Intamin suspended coaster, which Tornado I think it's called, which is all right. Like it's not anywhere near as good as like a B&M invert, but it's unique because there's not that many of the Intamin ones. And then it's got the Premier like loop, sky loop called Hype. That area of the park's quite cool because it's got like really loud dance music playing, and they've got a load of like sort of.
I like the song they made for the ride. It's like
classic fairground rides and stuff, and that's the part that's right next to the water, so it's quite nice. But again, it's just a skyrocket thing, so it's not, the ride itself isn't that good.
I actually quite enjoy those rides though, like the one at Holiday Park, Sky Scream. I really enjoy it.
The
I see James nodding and disagreeing strongly. Yeah, the restraints that I have to admit, but I like the thrilling factor of it still.
It's good for a small park, definitely. Like it's just a cheap, like low, doesn't take up much space. Probably, it's good for that kind of park. But then they also they used to have a Intamin half pipe which closed 2 years ago, which was really good actually. And it's disappointing that it's now gone because that was like there's not many others. There's one at Disneyland Paris, I think, which is.
But it's not entirely the same thing as it's as the vehicles itself are not spinning like
slightly different. But and there's I think the only other ones in Asia, so that was a unique ride, and definitely the observation tower is cool, and there's a restaurant in it as well, like a 5-star like Michelin star restaurant, I think. It's a unique park. It's just not. It's not a park which when I went to it I was like, I need to go back. Like I just haven't. I've just went once, and then I've been to Linnanmäki like 3 or 4 times, and I've been to Power Park twice, but I've not been back to Sarkaniemi.
But you would go back, James.
Yeah, I probably would actually. I do think I would. I'd love to go back to Finland in general, actually, at some point.
And then, I think Linnanmäki, is that the way?
Linnanmäki.
Okay.
Just say it faster. Yeah, that's the usual way.
Is that the Finnish way?
Yeah, just say it. Just say it like at the same exact speed. Don't pause on any syllable, and then you'll be saying it right.
I guess that's the easiest to access as well because it's in the capital, right? But I think it really became noted by theme park fans because of Taiga, which is still your number one, James?
Yeah, I think so, because it was joint number one with Taron, but I think, I mean, more maybe because I haven't been on Tiger again, and I have been on Taron again. I think I'd put Tiger above Taron now, but I haven't been on it recently, so I can't really do that comparison.
How high do you rate it, Alastair?
It is really good. Like, it's really underrated. I've not really heard anybody, not that many people, like, hype it up. It's just kind of like, it just kind of opened and few people went to ride it, and then I didn't really hear much. Like,
I think that's
feedback.
the issue, yeah.
But yeah, no, because Lindenmäki opens usually quite late. Usually open till at least 8 and sometimes like midnight. So you can get a lot of rides in the dark, especially because it's in Finland, so it goes darker kind of earlier anyway. But it's what they needed before they had that, because they didn't have anything that was similar in any way. They didn't have a proper like standout thrill coaster, and now they've got like a world class like coaster. It's really intense, like especially towards the end of the day, like really intense. It's got really good combination of elements, like especially the final. I think it's a 0G or it's a no corkscrew. Like it literally like it's like the Blue Fire corkscrew, but like twice as good, like the last inversion on Blue Fire. I mean, so
nice.
Yeah, I think it deserves more praise. Actually, more people need to just go and try it.
Well, you've ridden what's the famous one in Cedar Point, the Intamin launch one?
Maverick.
Maverick, yeah. Do you rate it over Maverick?
I haven't ridden Maverick. I've never been to Cedar Point.
Okay. I'm
my desperate
bad.
to go to Cedar Point.
Yes, well, but from what I've seen, it looks like the newer version, and then with all different kind of elements of that type of coaster. I guess.
I don't know if it's.
No?
I don't know if I know anyone who's been to both of those parks. This is the thing. It's like I usually when you know a lot of people that go to theme parks, you know like at least one person that's been on a couple of rides like those two. But I don't think I actually know anyone that's been on both. But I don't imagine it's as intense as Maverick, just from what I hear. But I could be wrong. I don't know.
What else is interesting at Lindenmäki?
What else did you find interesting, James? I want to hear yours.
My opinion. No, I actually liked it quite a lot. The ice cream was really good. That's a big plus.
James is all about the food.
That's something that I can remember very distinctly, was the ice cream was great. But I think I quite liked the location in the sense that it was close to the city. And I quite liked the way kind of that the park operated, in the fact that you can go in for free and then you can get the wristband, or you can just go on individual rides. And I think I was reading that they do quite a lot of work to support kind of local charities as well. Not that that's particularly related to the experience, but I just think it's quite a nice atmosphere. In terms of other rides, what stands out? The thing is, I don't think anything really stands out. Comes into my head. I can tell you what I really hated.
Okay.
I really didn't enjoy Uko, which was, I don't even know what it is. It's this horrible.
It's a Maura
skywheel coaster.
It's a Maura horror. Yeah, it is. I agree with you. It's horrible. Yeah. It's like the Premier one, but like in the same way that like a 2020 Ford is like a 1980 Ford Escort. Like, just like it feels like something that's just, it's so out of date, and like all the restraints are just horrible, and it's really rattly, and it's just, I don't know, it's really unrefined. Yeah. But it looks cool. Like it's like the main big ride that you can see from outside the park. Like, even I think it's even bigger than Tiger. So, but other than how it looks, it's not good.
I have actually something else, which just popped into my head. The other thing which is memorable to me now, just thinking about it, is something that is quite sort of maybe not regular theme in Scandinavia, but I'm not going to even attempt to pronounce it. The old wooden roller coaster that they have there. I think it's the same layout as the one at Bakken in Denmark, but that I think they have the brakeman still on that one. So that was good as well.
Yeah, it's. I don't think it's the same. I don't think it's the same layout. Is it the same layout? I don't know. I thought the park built that ride. I think they built it themselves. So like, if it was the same layout, I would be quite surprised if they managed to copy it. But yeah, no, it's called Vuoristorata, which is like mountain train or something like that. But yeah, no, it's got
Original
a brake.
name.
It's still got a brakeman on it, and it like still, when you go through the tunnels, it still smells of that like kind of tarry smell, like that they have that they use to treat the wood, and like it's cool. It's a really cool ride, like because of the experience of having a brakeman on it, and like it can be slightly different according to how he uses the brakes, and it's just so old. Like, it's definitely better. It's better than all the Blackpool wooden roller coasters. Let me just put it that way.
Oh wow! Yeah. So James, what is your Finnish top 3?
Finnish top 3. I have definitely number 1, Tiger. Otherwise, it's probably too close. I really liked. I'll just put these 2 in. I like the half pipe coaster at Salkaniemi, so that's probably number 2, and then I'll probably put the tornado at Salkaniemi number 3 because it was just quite different to other sort of suspended ones I've done before, so I found that quite fun.
Yeah, I've done the one at Parque de Atracciones Madrid, and it's like you want it to be good, but it's just not. That was my experience with the Intamin suspended coaster. But yeah, I can understand a bit what you mean. So what about you, Alastair?
Tiger, Thunderbird, and then Junker. But I could be wrong with now that the other one's open, but I severely doubt it's better than Junker. So I'm gonna.
It's pit special.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be as good. So.
You'll have to go back soon.
Have to
make
the trek back to the middle of a load of fields in the middle of nowhere where they've somehow built a park. Nobody.
Yeah, and
lives
that's like.
there.
And are they 3 independent parks? You know that?
I think they are. I don't think. I think because Power Park was like originally like a racing track, like a karting circuit.
Okay.
And they built a park next to it. It's still really bizarre. It's literally in the middle of it's literally nowhere near anywhere. So I don't like. It's kind of like Alton Towers, but like not in any other way, because Alton Towers is within a couple of hours of everywhere. But this is like hours away from anywhere, like wherever you go. So, and then yeah, definitely Lindenmäki is not owned by any bigger company. And what James was saying before, they actually let kids that are under like 10 like ride for free, like loads of different kids rides, like because they just have this policy of kids should be able to not have to pay to go in, and not just get to go in for free, but actually get to go on a certain number of rides for free as well, which is like I've never seen that anywhere else. That's the sign of a park that's not owned by a corporation, because you would never get, as soon as that gets bought by anyone, they're going to remove that because they're not making any money from it.
I'm just on the website actually, just to remind myself, and something that has come up is Kanu, which is the Intamin Zach spin.
Yeah.
Oh, that thing.
But I've done the one at Gronelund, which we'll probably get onto, which I hated, but I went on this one and it's a much smaller version, and I found it quite fun, so just throw that in the mix.
It is actually I think it is the best one of all the Zach spins. That's not saying much, but like it's the least painful one.
Okay.
I think I think it's basically the prototype one as well. It was like the very first ever Zaxbin, like the smallest, most basic one. And then when they tried to make the bigger ones, it just kind of emphasised the problems with the horrible restraints. And then like the one that used to be like Green Lantern at Magic Mountain that's now been removed because it was just painful, like horribly painful.
Well, removed and moved to La Ronde in Canada.
An exile.
One of the Okay, but we're not going to Canada, but we're going to the European Canada, Sweden. Yay! Let's start in Leesburg. Or how do we pronounce it, James? You heard it from a friend.
Yeah, Liseberg is what I heard, but I may well be wrong.
Okay. So what did you think of the park?
Sven, you kind of already know my opinion, but
That's why I'm asking.
I think it is a park. It's really hard because on the one hand, I think it's great, and I think that it's obviously got a lot of amazing rides and roller coasters, and they put on good events there too. But for some reason, I just didn't really feel that warmed to it as a whole. So yeah, that's kind of, I'm not sure. I kind of have this conflicting opinion about it.
What about you, Alastair?
I love it. I think it's the best. It's easily the best park in the whole of all the Scandinavian parks, in my opinion. But it may be because the year that I went was like it's one of its prime years, like 2016. Like Helix just opened like a couple of years before, so it was still in really good condition, like really smooth. And they gave us because I kind of went with a group, and they gave us like a really not really exclusive, but like a really nice tour. Like the park, like director was there, and like kind of showed we I think we went in before the park opened and like did some ERT on something, and like they got some behind the scenes tours and something. So it gives you a better impression maybe than if you just go there like as a normal visitor. But yeah, I thought it was like the location of it, like the fact that it's also kind of on a hill, like there's another kind of city park, but like a different feel of a city park compared to like Grona Lund or Linnanmäki, which is like literally so small and like in the kind of centre. This sort of feels like a bit more spacious and like, but you can still sense that it's in a kind of area. And then yeah, just all the rides, like there's just so many good rides there, and there's even more now that I haven't actually been on, like, which you two have been on, but which I'm jealous of. But
yeah, well, so this is the first park on this episode that I also visited with you. But I have to agree with Alastair. Like for me, I really enjoyed the park. To be fair, it was my first Scandinavian park. But for me, there was no private tours or anything. My first day was one of the busiest days they had that season, probably, because it was super sunny, long weekend. But I knew I was going back for another day, so I really enjoyed just walking around, taking pictures, walking up the hill, and then seeing the landscape, doing, like you said, the coasters. For me, it's one of my favorite coaster park out there, because Valkyria and then Balder and Helix, they all are pretty amazing. And also Lisberg Banan.
Yeah.
Not sure if that's correct, but really enjoyed all four of those coasters. And then also Atmosphere. That's there, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
The first ride I had was okay, but then the more I rode it, the more I enjoyed it, because as you said, it's built up. The park is on the hill, and then that drop tower is on the hill, so you have this far stretched view of the city and then the lakes, and I really enjoyed doing that. And yeah, the merchandise, I'm absolutely love the merchandise, because they have like, I bought a platter to put your food on and to bring to your table with the whole park map, but then in that typical Scandinavian design. So yeah, I really enjoyed that park.
Yeah, and also the fact that the drop tower is is like an Intamin gyro drop, I think is it was one of those like special. It's like kind of like one of those drop rides that's more of an experience than a ride. Like you kind of, it's kind of like an observation tower and a drop ride, and it sort of does it all really well. Like I think that is, even though it's not the quickest, the most intense drop ride, I think it's just it's definitely one of my favourite like that I've ever been on, just because of the location and the fact that it's just it's just like a big package of a drop ride that you don't usually get.
But then you, James, I think you tend more to the other city park in Sweden, Gröna Lund.
Yeah, I think it's one of my favourite parks I've ever been to. And it does fall kind of down again to the setting. I just think it's so beautiful. I mean, Stockholm is really beautiful in general, but where the park is it's just so gorgeous, honestly. And I really like that atmosphere. It's very different. It's obviously not really a theme park. It's more of a
amusement park.
Yeah, but it is. Yeah, it's my sort of place. I don't know. I really liked it. Yeah, I'd love to go back.
Again, for me, it's like how you hope, and it's like how Blackpool Pleasure Beach is in your dreams, like. But when you actually go there, it's nothing like. It's just kind of grimy and uncomfortable. Whereas, like Gröna Lund, it's smaller than Blackpool Pleasure Beach. I think it is smaller, but it's also like it just feels like somewhere that's had so much, like so much history and so much like has gone on there. Like just the layout of the rides is just ridiculous. Like genuinely one of the most like compact, like complicated, convoluted sort of set series of rides, and it's even more so now. It's got the B&M, which I've not seen, but now I've seen pictures of it, and I can't believe it's even there. But also not just that, like it's got really nice food and like really nice, like there's so many nice places to eat in the park and to drink in the park. Like they're just like really high quality, really a lot of variety. Like the whole experience of what you kind of get in a theme park, even though it's not really a theme park, is there. So actually, I think now I think about it, Leesburg is the best park for rides, but I think Gröna Lund is the best Scandinavian park for like atmosphere and like feeling like you've had a good time. I don't know, that's my. It's a shame that Sweden gets all the good stuff, but.
I mean. I think here for Gröna Lund, James, I had a bit what you had with Leesburg. It's that I really enjoyed the park, but I didn't really connect to it. My favorite thing about it was probably that you can see it from almost everywhere in the city, and that it's like its own landmark within Stockholm. And then when visiting the park itself, it was like, okay, yes, it's quite small, and I do really enjoy that all the rides are stacked on top of each other, just like in Phantasialand. I really enjoyed that. But then, like the dark rides are pretty dated. And then I really enjoyed some of the coasters, and then the tower rides. I'm a fan of heights, so I liked how you could go up in all these different kinds, like Icarus, obviously the sky jump, I think. Intamin, because you're not just falling down, you're falling down with the view of Stockholm, and especially at night with all the lights up, and I do have to admit that it's a very atmospheric park, and I like how it's close to the water as well, 'cause with the what is the name of that ride on the, like the octopus kind of ride?
The polyp thing.
Yes, the polyp thing. I wasn't sure how to say it in English, but
can I just say on the you said that the dark rides are really dated, but I think that's hilarious. Like there's one ride
I know
it's called the Love Tunnel, or that's the translation.
Yeah.
And like literally when we went on that, it's so. Like it's just you can literally manually move your boat backwards. Like if you, it's going like down a flume, but you can, if you want, you can just use your hands and move the boat backwards. Like it's so funny. Like, it's just like just the fact that that's there. Like, but it's It's just what's the word? It's just a novelty, like to be able to see that kind of a ride still operates like in the 21st century.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that just adds to the charm.
However, the fun house was one of my favorite things though there, especially with the slides at the end. I didn't know that it was there, so and that's a pretty old ride as well, right?
And another one which I can't believe it operates in the 21st century. Like, it feels like a health and safety disaster. Like somebody could easily just break their leg on that. Like, but yeah, no, that is another thing. Yeah, another thing to add to the list of odd things that are there.
Lustiga huset, I think.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And then we talked about atmosphere and the location, and I think the third one we're discussing is not really a theme park, but it's on the list because of one major coaster, Kolmården, is it?
Kolmården.
Kolmården Zoo.
Don't roll the R though. You have to say the R straight. Just Kolmården.
Okay. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
it's
I always make that mistake because in Finnish you have to roll the R on every single word, but then in Norwegian and Swedish you never roll the R on the or. That's way off topic.
Thank you. James, what did you think about the park?
Yeah, beautiful. The location is beautiful. Once again, it's one of these things which is a bit more out of the way. I'm kind of going a bit back and forth at the moment. This is not really that relevant. Kind of going a bit back and forth at the moment about what I think about zoos and animals in captivity. So, but I think when we look at it, I wouldn't really call it a zoo because it is more of a wildlife park. And I think the kind of the amount of space that the animals have and the treatment of the animals is a lot better than a lot of places. And obviously wildfire is amazing as well. So
yeah, almost all of the animals are endangered species and are in breeding programs that they have. So. But yeah, wildfire, that's something. But we'll discuss the coasters more when we talk about our top 3, I think. My other favorite ride there was the safari.
Oh, the cable car ride.
Yeah,
that is really cool.
I really liked how it starts off immediately with a view on wildfire and the Swedish lakes, which immediately brings you in the atmosphere. And then what's also nice is that there's certain reserves that you go over several times. That way, if you didn't see the animals the first time, then you can see it the second or the third time. And a pretty popular ride as well, obviously, because it's accessible for everyone. But the other rides are more for the kids, of course. The Bamse World, I think.
I can't even remember any other ride other than is it called Delfin Expressen? Like the little kids coaster, and then Wildfire. That's the only 2 rides that I can remember that were there.
Yeah, there's Gold Saget or something similar to that, which is like a zero force coaster in the kiddie area as well. But then I guess otherwise the focus is more on the animals. I don't think anyone went to Skara Summerland, right?
Not yet, no. None of the Summerland.
Okay, but yeah, that one we haven't been, so we can't really include it. But I think it's most famous for the Tranan coaster, which is the suspended SNS family ride, which is, you'll probably have seen pictures of it. It's like a bird, and on 2 sides of the bird, it's basically a family wing coaster. But yeah, maybe when we get there in the future, we can talk about that more. But we have our 3 parks, top 3. Go, James.
I'm gonna say Wildfire, Boulder, and Helix.
Okay, So very into the wooden coasters. Why those three?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've only done 3 RMCs, but I've enjoyed all of them. So, and Boulder, I think I remember it being very smooth. So that was quite good because I'm not such a big fan of rattly ones, so to speak.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I remember that being quite fast and intense and lots of airtime. So, yeah.
Okay. What about Alastair?
It's really difficult. No, I mean, I think partially because I think what I would think it is now, if I was to ride all the rides again now, I think it would be a different opinion to what I'm going to say now. Because, but from my experience, it would be 2016 Helix, definitely top. Then Tiger. Then it's
Tiger is Finland.
Yeah. Oh, am I not including Finland in this? Or?
No,
this is
Sweden.
This is top 3 in Sweden. Oh God.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So it's 2016 Helix, 2016 Helix, and then it's probably gonna have to be then Wildfire, and then it's a tough one between. I really like Boulder as well, and nobody else that I went with didn't seem to like it. They all thought it was really formulaic and really formulaic and like it just sort of like a boring layout. But it had so much airtime and it was so smooth.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, I'm going to say Boulder in 3.
But we talked about this. You put Wildfire on 2, and still you didn't really connect to it.
No, but I mean, to be fair, when we talked about it, I was comparing it to Zadra rather than to to compare it to all the other rides in Sweden. It's still fairly high, but to compare it to the best RMCs, I think it's lacking a bit. But I mean, then again,
James,
you argued that it wasn't the same kind of ride as Zadra. So.
Yeah, do you consider Wildfire a wooden coaster or steel coaster?
Do you know what? I really don't know.
But you've done you said you've done 3 RMCs, so that's Zadra, Untamed.
Yeah.
You did Untamed.
Yeah.
And then the 3 European ones.
Yeah.
Okay, but do you feel that there's a difference between Zadra Untamed and then on the other side Wildfire?
I mean, if I'm including them all in one group, Wildfire was the first one I did, so I think it sort of had the biggest, wow, I've not done anything like this before. But I do think that it's difficult because I personally put Zadra as the best one of the 3 that I've done, and then I put Wildfire in the middle and then Untamed at the bottom. And I liked Untamed, but I thought that it was almost too much airtime, which sounds really weird, but I just thought it was like too sort of aggressive, whereas the other 2 less so. So I don't know. I can't really say, but I just think they're all really good.
Yeah, because what I said to Alastair was that after so I've also done 3 RMCs. First one being Twisted Colossus, then the second one being Untamed, and then I rode Wildfire. The first 2 are Iron Horse, so more for me those are really hybrid, almost steel coasters. While Wildfire, it was my first topper track, and then I was like, okay, I understand why this is actually still more of a wooden coaster for me, and so I compare it more in that spectrum compared to actually the other RMCs. I really felt quite the difference between the 2 experience, let's say, but you had less of that, Alastair.
I just grouped them all in the same. They're just all an RMC.
Yeah.
I didn't feel there was a huge difference between Wildfire and between the feel of Wildfire and say Zadra, which is probably the most comparable, like in scale. I just thought they were. Yeah, it's not exactly the same kind of construction, but ultimately they're both running on steel, and they're both incredibly smooth. So I don't think there's a huge difference. I'm comparing them to each other rather than thinking of them how you do.
But to end with, in Sweden, my top 3 is actually the same as yours, Alastair.
Okay.
No, sorry. I'll put Wildfire over Helix. So 1 is Wildfire.
And that's probably what I would
Helix.
do if I went back to ride Helix, by the sounds of how Helix is.
And 3 is Balder. Is that now the same one as you, James? I forgot.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Helix, Boulder, I don't know where to say which is where.
The thing is, you mentioned 2016 Helix, because when I rode Helix for the first time, I was like, whoa, rattle. And this on a Mack coaster, and I was like, why? How? And then also I had to wait for 2 hours, so that didn't help. But I did it the second day of the visit, and then I did it front seat in the dark, and then it was like, okay, this is the kind of wow experience I was hoping to have on this kind of coaster. Same with Wildfire. At the beginning of the day, I was like, okay, this is nice, but then towards the end of the day, I really, really enjoyed it. But then Balder was also, I understand why people say like it's a plain layout, which is definitely true, but then the airtime that you have, and it's such a easy to repeat coaster. There were no crowds on our second day, so we could keep going on, and it just rained, so it was like extra speed. Well, it felt like extra speed. However, I do also want to mention, but I always think I'm mispronouncing it, Valkyria, right, at Lisburg, is my favorite dive coaster in Europe. It's not particularly standing out towards other coasters, but as for a dive coaster, you have the dive with a tunnel, with some effects, and then it really goes smoothly into the elements, into the inversions, and also size-wise, it's perfect for that kind of park. And then really enjoyed Lisbergbanan as well, like really good classic coaster. But then the Monster is also at Grunalund is also one that I want to mention, because even though it's not the most special B&M invert out there because of intensity, it's just the setting, the layout. The layout is made for the park, you know. It had to adapt. It's not the other way around, and that's why the inversions are pretty similar. But then the way you, at the end of the ride, you have to go down with a kind of, almost under the park to go back into the station. And then with the metro team, it's the urban team, it's very nicely done, and the way they fitted that park in there, the lighting scheme on the ride. And if you take the boat from the docks of Stockholm towards the park, you can see it passing by and all the lights, and it's definitely a reason to visit. Also, Sweden is Monster now.
Can I just say that also that the really underrated, like at Gronalund, is also Jetline and Jetline and Twister. Like they're both really good rides. Like Jetline, just
I'm mad at Twister.
Yeah,
because I was there on 2 days, and both of the days they were closed, and then in the 2 days after that we were still in Stockholm, I passed by with the boat, and it was open. So,
but it's like it's such a compact wooden rug. I don't think I've ever, but it's so like it's fast. It feels so fast, like for how small it actually is, and it's also one of the only Gravity Group rides I've ever done, so I think it gives a good impression of them. And then Jetline's just such a good Schwarzkopf, like such an intense, like,
but front
classic
seat.
Ride. Yeah. Oh no, actually, I think I did, because that again when we went there, we did I think we did some ERT on Jetline, so we did like 15 rides in a row on it, or something like ridiculous. And like by the end of it, like you are genuinely like it's so intense, you just like want to get off. Like, and it's so unexpected when you look at it. Like, you just like, it just looks kind of like a moderate ride, but it's actually really, really good. So definitely ride that when you go.
Yeah, but I think is it good to say that Sweden is probably the most interesting theme park destination in Scandinavia.
I don't think there's
for coaster enthusiasts.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah.
However, James, you were thinking about it, but maybe you were doubting about Denmark?
Yeah, that just sort of went through my head, but I think if you're going to put it down to which of the 4 has the best roller coaster, then it has to be Sweden.
Mm-hmm. But what is the charm of the Danish theme parks, James?
See, that's the thing. The parks in Denmark are really lovely. I don't know if, Alastair, if you've been to them or not.
I've been to Tivoli. That's the only one I've been to, sadly.
Okay.
But I've done Tivoli Gardens, Bakken, and then Djurs Summerland, which is like one of my favourite parks that I've been to, and then Tivoli Friheden, which is a lot smaller. But I think Tivoli Gardens is definitely the most sort of charming and atmospheric one. It's just got a really lovely atmosphere. But I think which one has the best rides? I'd say Djurs Summerland, because the roller coasters are actually really good there.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost think it's a bit underrated. Like, they don't have any rides with inversions or anything like that. But the roller coasters that they've got are all really well themed and they're really fun. And the operations there are really good too. Like, it was busy, but the queues really weren't that bad at all. Like, they moved up quick.
How good is Piraten?
Yeah, Piraten is good. I would say it's good. I really enjoyed it. I think I went on it twice, which, given the amount of time that I had, was actually, I went back to do it again, which says that it was good enough. But I think, it's quite a lot.
To standards of James.
Yeah, to my standards. I did like Piraten, but the coaster there which really stood out to me was Uvelen. And
another Intamin.
And that's just, like, incredible.
Yeah, so Piraten is an Intamin Megalight, and then Juvelin is it actually a family launch coaster?
Yeah, but it's really fast. Like, it's quite thrilling, and the theme of that is really good too. So it's just a good experience. And then the other, I think they have even another Intamin, which is the suspended one.
The Dragekongen.
Yeah, and that's a little bit rattly, but it's actually good fun as well. And I do think it's better than the Vekoma SFCs. It's certainly more thrilling.
Really? And you are so crazy about Halsuberkopf.
No, but yeah, I do like Halsuberkopf.
You do prefer it over?
I don't know. I like both of them.
Are they old? Because that Piraten is like nearly 14 years old. Like, it's quite old. And, like, is it still smooth like that? Because everybody used to say, like, 10 years ago, they were like, oh, this is like one of the best coasters in Europe. Like, it's a mega like it's a really good quality ride, but it's in this weird, part that you would never expect to be there. And then now it feels like, do I go there for that, or like, is it no longer is it no longer as good as it was, or is it still? Does it still feel good?
It was really smooth. It was really smooth. Like, it didn't feel old at all. It feels like it doesn't feel like brand shining new, but it feels like a modern roller coaster. And I do think the park in general, I believe they're building something new at the moment, but I haven't really paid attention to what it is.
Just, it's a small Mack powered coaster, the T-Rex family coaster.
But also when I went, they had the new what was it called, Tigerian, which was the Intamin gyro swing, which they also have one of those at Lisboa, and I really love those. So that, I was sold on that. But it's one of these things where it's kind of a bit out of the way because I went to Aarhus, which is a really lovely city, and I would recommend visiting the city, and that's where Tivoli Frieden is. But to get to Summerland, if you want to go by public transport, it's not great with the bus, because I had to get the bus back at like 4 o'clock and the park was open till 8, so I really didn't even have a whole day. So that was kind of the issue, because I would have loved to spend more time there, but I kind of felt like I had to sort of be rushed because of the bus to get back.
I feel like we missed a trick here. We should have also discussed which parks were worth visiting, also on the basis of were the places they were in nice to visit as well, rather than just was the park good, because like I feel like it's part of the experience to also visit the city or the town that it's near, which like Power Park, definitely off the list if you want to visit a city or somewhere. Not just
the funny thing is we have a Danish trip planned for next year, and I think I will visit Aarhus but not Tivoli Friheden. Not sure yet, it will depend, but depend on pricing and time. But when I think of that park, I think of the Sky Tower, because I've seen videos of that and that looks insane. Did you do it?
No, I didn't.
Too scared?
I just don't like having to pay to get in somewhere and then pay to go on something extra. And I actually feel like the value you get at Tivoli Frieden for what you pay for is not that good, because there's not actually that much included in the wristband. And the ride that I was most looking forward to when I went was actually closed.
Which one?
It's gone now. It was the it's like, I think it was the Mondial thing, which looks a bit like a Top Scan. I think it's called Pegasus. It was called Pegasus.
Okay.
And they've removed it now.
Yes, I see it here. Yeah.
And I really was looking forward to that, because I do like those sorts of things, and it was just shut. So
yeah, it's a technical park.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there's one of those at Power. There's one of those at Power Park.
Oh, well, I better go there.
It's horrible. It's so. It makes. I nearly vomited when I came off that. Like, it's so disorienting.
But James likes those kinds of things.
Yeah, fair. I think some people can handle them more than others. Yeah, it was. I'm never going to go on one of those again. I just didn't. I didn't know what it was, and then when I went on it, and then I was like, "What the heck is this?" And I had to research it, and I was like, "Oh, it's a technical park. Never seen one before. Never going to go on it again." But it was really, intense, which is why it put me off.
And then, what about Bakken?
Bakken, yeah. Really, it's the... Oh gosh, I should know this because I wrote the article on it. It is the oldest amusement park in the world, is that right?
Yes, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's just really, like, the atmosphere is really nice. It's very quirky. It's quite fairgroundy, so if you don't like that, I would avoid it. Although at the same time, then they've got the really old wooden roller coaster, so that's also a reason to go there. So it's kind of like, it's very mishmash, but I quite liked it for what it was. And it's got a lot of history to it. Obviously, there's the Tornado roller coaster as well. Yeah,
the Intamin spinning coaster.
Which I think is just very uncomfortable. But it's certainly very different.
I'm curious to ride that.
I really like the racing coaster, which is now gone. But that was good fun. That was probably my favorite thing.
If people want to see a video of that, you can do on YouTube with an on-ride from James.
Yeah.
And he's laughing because he was laughing as well during the on-ride.
I've just noticed that Intamin spinning coaster's got over-the-head restraints. Why?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Is it necessary?
It's like the Revachon ones that are so rattly and like horrible. They're just inexplicable why they would put those restraints on something that doesn't go upside down.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I just think the whole thing is just bonkers. That's the word I can use to describe it. But not necessarily a good bonkers.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go to a park that's close by and that you both visited, Tivoli Gardens. It's one of the most visited theme parks in Europe that I have not visited yet. Plus, it's the final park that I need to complete my B&M bingo. But besides the B&M, what else is there to do?
There is the wooden coaster, the Rutschebahn, which is like just another ridiculously old ride that's still operating. I think it's 1910 or something like that when that opened. Like it's just ridiculous. Like, but it's one of the scenic
1914.
Railway,
yeah.
Yeah. So that's just for the experience of it. Like to ride something that old, and it is still pretty good. Like they've maintained it really well. Other than, I don't think I actually went on that much there because we weren't there for that long, and it was like really busy, and it was in the new year. I think it was like New Year's Eve or something like that. It was really, really busy, but it was really, really nice atmosphere, and the park itself is incredibly well decorated and well themed, especially at the Christmas sort of time. So yeah, I don't know what James's experience was. What time of year did you go?
I went in the summer, and actually I thought it was going to be really busy, but it wasn't too bad in terms of like, at least for the rides. It's an entertainment park. They put on a lot of entertainment concerts, that sort of stuff. You can go for like dance classes and all sorts there. Like that's.
Did you do a dance class?
No, I didn't do it. I just know you could do it there. I remember seeing like this like parade when we were there as well, with like all these soldiers. So it's very much a cultural park, and it's not so focused on the rides. But it's very charming, and the other major ride which I do remember going on is the Vertigo thing.
Yeah, unfortunately no longer in the park.
Is it gone?
Another technical part ride.
Well, I'm not sure if it's gone from the park, but it's closed, yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's closed since this year, unfortunately.
That's such a shame because it is bonkers.
I think that was the most. Yeah, everybody used to say that was like the thing that you should go to ride because it was just like ridiculously, insanely intense. But again, I didn't ride it.
There's still one
so busy.
A similar one to that somewhere in France, but it's a shame that I missed out on that one in the park.
It's got such a low capacity, like you can't like. It's like 8 people per cycle. Like it's just unless it's quiet. I think it's like I think when I was there, I even had to queue up for like an hour for Deminen, which is ridiculous. Like considering it's a B&M and like, but it's just by far the most popular ride.
Yeah, the thing with Tivoli is it gets a lot of people, a lot of visitors per year. And I would say, aside from Rutschebahn and the wooden coaster, which has really quick operations, everything else is very slow. But I was really lucky because we really didn't have to queue for anything at all. But I could imagine if there were long queues, it would feel very sluggish, except for Rutschebahn, which they run like 5 trains on. It's insanely quick.
Also they had VR on Daminen. For like when we were there, they had VR on it, which was just even though it's going slowly, already that just doubles the slowness. But I think they've got rid of it. Yeah. No, I didn't do it with the VR. I deliberately said I just want to ride it like as it is.
Yeah, I get
and
that.
Not because I hate VR and any ride that has it. Even the indoor one at Linnanmäki, which there's nothing to even see if you don't have the VR. But I just won't use it.
Yeah, James is crazy about crazy bats still. But...
Oh god.
Well, it's. I think Crazy Bats is probably one of the best coasters to have VR on. To be fair, but back to Denmark. I think it's a bit hard for you, Alastair, to make a
Yeah, I'm not
top 3.
I'm not going to rank out of the 2 that I've
Plus, we also need to mention that there's some other parks like Farup Sommerland and then Legoland Billund that we're not mentioning in this podcast, but as I hopefully will visit next year, I can hopefully talk about that. And then there's obviously also Bon Bon Land, famous for its dog farting coaster. But James, what is your Danish top 3?
My Danish top 3 probably is Juveland or Juveland. Parat,
number 1.
Yeah, number 1. Parata, number 2, and Rutterbanen at Tivoli, number 3.
Okay. That's an interesting one. Why those 3?
Yeah, Juveland, I was just really... It was something that I knew I wanted to go on, but I think it just really... Like, sometimes I'm really underwhelmed, and it was the opposite. Like, I didn't really have much expectation, and it was really good. And, yeah, I think... Paraten is a good coaster. It's thrilling and it's lots of airtime. It's quite smooth. And then Rutterbanen, just because of the history of it, and it's so old, but it's still really fun, and it's got the brakeman on it as well, which is quite exciting. So yeah.
Yeah, nice. Well, I really enjoyed our tour. I hope you guys did as well. No.
Are we not doing it? Are we not doing a top 3 overall? Surely we have to do that.
You want to do a top 3?
I mean, I already started doing it before, and then I realised you weren't.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I can't do it for me because obviously
you've got to do it anyway.
Sweden.
You've got to do your personal top 3.
Yeah, but it's the same as Sweden. So.
Oh right. Okay. Oh yeah, because you're not. Okay.
We're all ears for you, Alastair. What is your Scandinavian top 3 of the parks you visited?
It's been ruined because I already said it before, but it was definitely so. 2016 Helix definitely was the best. However, it may now be Tiger. If I was to ride them again, it probably would be Tiger.
Oh.
And then so one of those 2 on the top 2 currently probably Tiger. But as of my experience, Helix. And then 3, it's difficult one between Wildfire and Boulder, but I'm going to have to say Wildfire because of its location and ridiculous view and just like epic scale. Whereas Boulder's really good, but it's just kind of like a run of the mill Intamin wooden coaster. Yeah, that's my top 3.
Nice. Did you manage to make one, James?
I just had to think about it now, and Tiger number 1, because it's like my favorite coaster ever. So, and then number 2, I'm gonna put Juveland number 2. I just really love it. And then 3, I will put Wildfire.
Okay. Yeah, it's nice to hear about these very specific top 3s because obviously it will be different for everyone. But it's nice to know that it's worth going to Scandinavia as an enthusiast, even though personally the main reason why I haven't gone that much is because it's quite expensive, especially when I compare it to other parks, as I don't have to fly. I guess from a UK perspective it might be different because you guys, if you want to go somewhere, you usually have to fly, but from mainland Europe perspective, especially in Belgium, as I'm so close to quite some big and parks, it does help on the cost compared to then the Scandinavian parks. Although I have to admit that when we went to Göteborg, is that the way to pronounce it? It was less expensive than I expected, but Stockholm was definitely as expensive as I expected.
That's kind of, I just wanted to say a little point on that as well, because kind of on the whole trip planning, expenses, whole sort of side of things, at least from my experience, Norway was ridiculously expensive, and if anyone is kind of concerned about cost, I would just strike that one off straight away. I wouldn't even consider it. But I think in terms of Denmark, I can't remember Copenhagen, whether it was expensive or not. But certainly when I went to Aarhus, it didn't feel particularly that overpriced at all. It felt quite reasonable. And the other place was Helsinki. And I think, I don't know, Alastair will be able to say more about it, because obviously Finland's in the euro, is that correct?
Yes.
So I feel like it's not as bad as the other Scandinavian countries necessarily, but I may be wrong.
I think Finland's quite expensive. I think Finland's probably it's not as expensive as Norway, definitely. Norway is definitely the most expensive country to travel to like stay in than anywhere else in Scandinavia. But I'd say, I don't know. I mean, yeah, because it's just like you just have a weird like perception of it, because like all the other Scandinavian countries, well, then technically Finland's not in Scandinavia, so Nordic countries use the krona, so it's like it's just out of scale to like the euro, so like but yeah, I think Finland is still really is expensive, like like drinks and everything, especially alcoholic drinks, like ridiculously expensive in Finland. I feel like they were less expensive in Sweden. I don't know, that was just my perception, and I feel like Denmark also was less.
Denmark was definitely, at least Aarhus was definitely not as bad as I was expecting. Look at me trying to find out how much I spent, because I remember going out for pizza in Aarhus, and it really wasn't that bad. I'm not going to be able to find this, but
yeah, I'll be able to talk about that next year, hopefully, when I finally go to Denmark and then do some of the theme parks there. But yeah, I think we did a nice trip in the Nordic countries. Actually, I should have called it different from the start. Then you should have corrected me, Alastair.
I didn't want to ruin the theme of the podcast. It completely change the title.
But so yeah, we'll call it Scandinavian parks anyway, because in people's minds, Norway is part of it. But
yeah.
But thank you for joining me on this special episode, Alastair and James, and to share your knowledge and experiences from the Nordic parks.
Good one, Sven. Thanks.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you, dear listeners, for listening to our episode. If you want to find out more about us, just go to thecoasterkings.com, and you can, as mentioned before, also read the Scandinavian special written by James. Just can go to European Coaster Kings, and there you'll definitely find it. You can also follow us on our social media channels on Instagram, Facebook, and more. And if you like the episode, please give us a review. It really helps wherever you're listening. So thank you, everyone, and have a great day. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.